Have you ever stopped to think that the simple last digit of your birth year can reveal something profound about your past life? It seems like just a detail, a number that goes unnoticed amidst so much information. But when we look through the eyes of spirituality, we realize that nothing is there by chance. In the view of great spiritual guides, including Emmanuel, a mentor who works side by side with Chico Xavier, each number carries with it a vibration, an energetic imprint that holds important clues about experiences lived by the soul in other incarnations. And that's precisely what we're going to talk about today. What you'll discover now may surprise you, because perhaps the number that has always accompanied your birth date is revealing much more than you imagine. When we think about spirituality, we often seek answers in books, psychographed messages, or even philosophical reflections that have spanned centuries. But sometimes, the answers are hidden in the simplest things, like a numerical detail that carries hidden meanings. Emmanuel, a spirit renowned for his wisdom and clarity, always reminded us that life is not limited to what meets the eye. He insisted on showing us that every element of our daily lives can be a sign, key to better understanding who we are and why we are here. Stay with me until the end, because today you can see yourself from a new perspective. Now, think about your birth year. Visualize it clearly in your mind, that number that always fills forms, documents, and memories. Have you ever noticed its last digit? This small detail, so constant in your life, can carry spiritual lessons linked to your past. Emmanuel teaches us that the soul, over many lifetimes, records learnings, pains, achievements, and missions. And these records often manifest in symbolic forms, accessible to those who know how to interpret them. The last number of your birth year may be one of these manifestations, a reflection of the marks your soul carries within. Have you ever felt that certain situations seem to repeat themselves in your life, as if they were an endless cycle? Perhaps the explanation lies precisely in this detail that we will explore together. Today we're not talking about pure numerology or ready-made formulas, but about a spiritual vision that connects numbers, energy, and reincarnation. Emmanuel had an impressive ability to translate complex concepts into clear messages, capable of reaching any heart open to reflection. And it is in this spirit of clarity and depth that we will delve into the meaning of the numbers that accompany his birth. Everyone who watches this video will be able to relate in some way, because we all carry throughout our incarnation signs that remind us of who we were before. Imagine, for example, that the final digit of your year is 1. What could this indicate about your past life? Have you ever held leadership roles, faced battles where you needed to assert yourself and guide others? Or, if the number is 7, wouldn't it be a sign of an intense spiritual quest, a soul that has experienced profound silences and philosophical reflections on other journeys? These clues are not definitive answers, but invitations to reflection. And reflection, as Emmanuel said, is one of the greatest exercises of the growing soul. The fascinating thing about this perspective is that it not only points to the past, but also opens up space for us to see the present more consciously. Understanding what we once were can illuminate the path to what we still need to become. Throughout this journey, you'll realize that each number carries a symbolic weight that can directly connect with the challenges, gifts, and opportunities you face in your current life. What we're about to explore isn't just a mystical curiosity, but an opportunity for profound self-discovery. If you've ever felt like there's something in your life that seems to have no logical explanation, perhaps you'll find a sign here. And perhaps by discovering the meaning of the last digit of your birth year, you'll recognize yourself in details that have always been there, but until now went unnoticed. And it is exactly at this point that we begin to delve into Emmanuel's revelation about the spiritual symbolism of numbers and how they can illuminate our journey of evolution. Have you ever wondered why numbers seem so present in our lives, going far beyond bills, calendars, and clocks? Are they just mathematical symbols? Or could they be hidden spiritual messages, signs of something our soul has experienced in other incarnations? What you're about to discover now may surprise you, because within the field of spirituality, numbers are seen as vibrational markers, carrying energies that reveal fragments of the past and even clues to our current mission. Stay with me until the end, because this reflection may change the way you see even your own story. According to messages attributed to Emmanuel, the spirit who accompanied Chico Xavier and left valuable teachings about life beyond matter. Each number is like a symbolic key that opens doors to spiritual memories. We're not talking about chance, coincidence, or pure mathematics. We're talking about records of the soul that subtly present themselves in our existence. Emmanuel always emphasized that nothing in life is by chance, and that even seemingly simple details can carry hidden meanings. It's capable of guiding us toward a deeper understanding of who we are. Have you ever felt that certain patterns seem to repeat themselves, as if there were an invisible logic guiding your experiences? Perhaps this logic lies precisely in the numbers. Surrounding your birth, imagine for a moment that you were born in 1987. The last digit of that year is 7. From a spiritual perspective, this isn't just the final number of a date, but a symbol of a soul carrying within itself lessons linked to inner searching, philosophical deepening, and spirituality. The number vibrates as a sign that, in past lives, there has been intense contact with reflection and paths towards self-knowledge. Now consider another situation. Someone born in 1992, whose last digit is 2. Here, the energy that manifests speaks of relationships, partnerships, balance, and lessons of coexistence. Doesn't it seem interesting that something as simple as a number can contain such profound messages? This way of looking at numbers should not be confused with fixed predictions or magic formulas. In spirituality, the symbolism of numbers does not point to a fixed destiny, but rather to clues, signs, and vibrations that help interpret the soul's path. Emmanuel invites us to understand that each number functions as a reflection of past experiences and at the same time as a reminder of the challenges we still need to face. And the curious thing is that the more we open our minds to this perspective, the more we realize that patterns repeat themselves, as if life were giving us successive opportunities to learn and evolve. When we look at numbers this way, they cease to be cold and distant and become part of a larger spiritual narrative. Think about how many times you've come across a number sequence that caught your attention, or how many times a specific number seemed to persistently accompany you in your life. Spirituality teaches that this isn't just coincidence. Like the last digit of your birth year, these manifestations can be subtle messages trying to awaken your awareness to something that needs to be remembered or understood. If numbers are vibrations, as Emmanuel said, then each of them carries a unique note within the great symphony of existence. This note can connect us to past memories and at the same time, prepare us for future challenges. The question is, are you willing to look beyond the obvious and perceive what these symbols reveal about your journey? Because when we understand that numbers are records of the soul, we begin to recognize within ourselves stories that perhaps began long before this life, and it is precisely at this point that we enter one of the most intriguing revelations about how each final digit of the birth year can carry a profound meaning, capable of illuminating hidden aspects of our spiritual trajectory. Have you ever stopped to think that the last digit of your birth year could hold deep secrets about who you were in past lives? It seems strange to believe that a simple number could reveal so much, but in spirituality, nothing is just a detail. Emmanuel, a spirit who worked alongside Chico Xavier, always emphasized that the soul's signals are scattered everywhere, ready to be deciphered by those who wish to better understand their own journey. What you'll discover now may surprise you, because each number from 0 to 9 carries with it a specific energy, a vibration that can shed light on past experiences and even explain some of the challenges we face today. Think for a moment about your birth year. If you were born in 1981, for example, the last digit is 1. What could this reveal about your essence? What if it's 1992, ending in 2? Or perhaps 1987, marked by the number 7? These details, which have always been before your eyes, can be seen in a new light when viewed through the lens of spirituality. Have you ever felt like you carry a strength, a talent, or even a difficulty that seems inexplicable in this life? Perhaps this enigma is reflected precisely in the number that closes your birth year. According to reflections attributed to Emmanuel, these digits do not represent a fixed destiny, as if they were determining everything that will happen in your life. Rather, they function as signs, spiritual maps that help you understand the paths the soul has already traveled and the learning that is still ongoing. Imagine the number 1. It is linked to lessons of leadership and courage, indicating that the person may have experienced command, decision-making, and confrontation in past existences. Now consider the number 2. Here, the vibration speaks of balance, relationships, and partnerships, showing that the soul has already learned, or still needs to learn to connect with others harmoniously. And the number 7, always so enigmatic, carries with it the weight of spiritual seeking, introspection, and inner depth, suggesting a path marked by reflection and a constant desire to understand the invisible. These examples show how numbers function as small windows into spiritual memory. It's not about predicting the future, but about interpreting signs that help us make sense of the present. Emmanuel said that when we open ourselves to this kind of understanding, we can see our challenges in a broader way, realizing that they are not punishments, but stages in the soul's ongoing learning process. Stay with me until the end, because you might be surprised to realize how such a simple number can reveal something so intimate about your own story. And the most interesting thing is that, when we identify the meaning of the last digit of our birth year, we begin to look at ourselves with more compassion and awareness. Someone marked by the number 1 can understand why they feel such a strong need for independence, or why they sometimes carry greater responsibilities than they'd like. Someone with the number 2 can realize that challenges in relationships are not coincidences, but part of a growth process that has been going on for many lifetimes. And those with the number 7 can finally understand that constant feeling that the material world is never enough, because their soul thirsts for something much greater, something that only the spiritual can offer. These revelations don't serve to limit, but to expand. They don't put anyone in a box, but rather offer clues that help us understand the mysteries of life. Because when we begin to put these pieces together, we discover that the soul always leaves subtle marks, small signs that reveal its trajectory throughout the ages, and it is precisely at this point that we will dive even deeper, exploring in detail what each number from 0 to 9 can tell us about the spiritual journey that goes through our lives. Have you ever wondered why certain challenges seem to haunt your life like ancient shadows, repeating themselves at different times, albeit in distinct situations? Is everything you face today merely a coincidence, or is there an invisible connection to experiences your soul has lived in previous incarnations? What you'll discover now may surprise you, because, according to teachings attributed to Emmanuel, a spirit who worked alongside Chico Xavier, understanding the past is not an exercise in curiosity, but an essential key to living better in the present and preparing for the future. Stay with me until the end, because this reflection may bring answers you may not have known you were looking for. We often believe that the problems we face arose now, in this lifetime, but spirituality shows us that life is a continuum. Emmanuel said that the soul carries deep records, like marks that are reflected in our way of thinking, feeling, and acting. When we look at the last digit of our birth year, we're not just deciphering a number. We're accessing a symbol that can reveal old lessons, unfinished experiences, and paths that still need to be traveled. Have you ever felt like you're reliving the same cycle, as if you've faced that situation before? Perhaps it's the soul reminding us that there are trials still underway. The beauty of this perspective is that it doesn't bind us to the past, but rather liberates us. Knowing that our present life is connected to other journeys helps us see our difficulties with more clarity and compassion. If today you face a struggle that seems endless, it may be the continuation of lessons learned that began in other times. And when we accept this, instead of feeling like victims of fate, we become protagonists of our own spiritual evolution. Emmanuel always emphasized that understanding who we were is an essential part of understanding who we are. Consider what it would be like if you could view your current challenges not as random obstacles, but as opportunities to complete chapters begun long ago. Someone currently struggling with relationship issues may be faced with the chance to resolve imbalances that already existed in other lives. Someone feeling the weight of loneliness may be reliving experiences of isolation that now need to be transformed into learning experiences of self-confidence. And someone who feels an incessant search for spirituality, as if the material world were never enough, may be continuing reflections that their soul already cultivated in other times. This way of seeing life doesn't mean passively accepting everything, but understanding that there's a common thread connecting past, present, and future. Emmanuel invites us to use this understanding as a beacon, illuminating the meaning behind even the most challenging situations. After all, when we understand that the soul neither begins nor ends in a single existence, everything takes on a new dimension. Even pain begins to be seen as instruments of growth, and joy as rewards for past efforts. Have you ever felt someone enter your life and awaken intense emotions, as if you'd known each other for a long time? Or have you ever experienced the sensation of being in a new place, but with a strange familiarity, as if your soul had already passed through there? These moments can be signs of spiritual connections that transcend time, reminding us that nothing we experience is ever lost in the void, and it's precisely this connection between past and present that we'll delve into next. Understanding how the signs revealed by the last digit of your birth year can help you decipher the trials, challenges, and opportunities your soul faces today. And as you reflect on these connections between past and present, you may have felt something awaken within you, as if certain pieces of the puzzle of your life began to fall into place. This kind of insight is powerful, and sharing what you feel can be even more transformative. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below with what has touched you most so far, because your experience can often illuminate the journey of someone else going through the same doubts and searches. This space for exchange is a true meeting point of souls, and each comment becomes part of this chain of collective learning. And if this message has already sparked new questions in you, or even brought a feeling of deep identification, take advantage and like the video. This simple gesture strengthens the channel, shows that this content is relevant, and helps bring this spiritual reflection to many more people who are also seeking answers. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more hearts, because together we can spread Emmanuel's words even further and keep the flame of spiritual knowledge alive. And of course, if you want to continue receiving messages like this, which combine spirituality, self-knowledge, and Emmanuel's wisdom, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This way, you'll always be close when new content is published. You can follow this journey of discovery alongside us all. With each subscription, our community grows stronger, and more people have the chance to understand that life is not limited to the present, but is part of a greater continuity of the soul. Now, with this heart open and this connection strengthened, we move on to delve even deeper into the spiritual meanings that the last digit of your birth year can reveal. Have you ever stopped to think that the simple last digit of your birth year can reveal something profound about your past life? Perhaps you've never realized it. After all, when we think of dates, we tend to see them as mere records: day, month, year. But for spirituality, these numbers aren't just marks on the calendar. They're like codes, symbolic portals that hold the energy of the soul, echoes of experiences you've lived on other journeys. And this is precisely where the revelation of Emmanuel comes in. A spirit who worked alongside Chico Xavier and left messages that can span generations. What he shows us is that the hidden truth can be found where we least expect it, even in a detail as discrete as the last number of your birth year, when Emmanuel offers these reflections. He doesn't speak of numerology as something rigid or deterministic. He speaks of spiritual vibrations, of records that accompany the soul and manifest in simple yet powerful symbols. Think about it. If every decision you've made in life has consequences, and if each choice has shaped who you are, why would it be any different with the spiritual marks accumulated over many lifetimes? These marks don't disappear. They transform, adapt, but they remain there, recorded in places that, at first glance, seem banal. Perhaps you've already experienced this in practice. That feeling of carrying an inner strength that you can't explain, or the opposite, a deep fear of something that never happened in this life. But that seems to have been with you forever. Emmanuel helps us understand that these feelings are not mere coincidences. They are like the backstage of the soul, stories we don't consciously remember, which continue to influence our choices, relationships, and even how we react to challenges. The last digit of your birth year, in this context, acts as a symbolic reminder of which lessons are most present in your journey, and it's fascinating to see how this connects with our current mindset. We often seek transformation only by looking forward, setting goals, changing habits, trying to create a new version of ourselves. But Emmanuel shows that part of true transformation comes when we look back. When we recognize the spiritual roots that explain certain patterns, this awareness gives us the chance to make different choices, to break repetitive cycles, to avoid falling into the same traps. Because if we understand where we came from, we can decide more clearly where we're going. Think about how powerful it would be to understand, for example, that final digit isn't there by chance, but can reveal essential learning. The number 1, for example, carries the energy of leadership and courage, and can indicate a soul that has experienced leadership in other lives. The number 2 speaks of balance, coexistence, and relationships that need to be harmonized, as if the soul were being invited to develop empathy and cooperation. And the number 7, so mysterious, vibrates with the spiritual quest, with the need to delve within and find meaning beyond matter. These examples show how numbers function as keys to interpretation, not of destiny, but of understanding. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we look at this symbolism, we're not just deciphering spiritual curiosities, we're opening space for revelations that can change the way we face our own challenges. Have you ever felt like certain situations seem to haunt you, as if life were trying to teach you the same lesson over and over again? Well, that's exactly the point. Maybe it's not just a coincidence. Maybe it's an unfinished cycle, a long-standing learning experience that finds an echo in the number that accompanies your birth. This perspective also invites us to reflect on responsibility. If each number points to a vibration, it also points to choices. Emmanuel always said that the past explains, but does not imprison. Knowing that you carry an energy linked to courage, balance, or spirituality doesn't mean your future is written in stone. It means you have before you a symbolic map, which can be used to make more informed decisions. After all, isn't it incredible to realize that even in numbers lies an invitation to take control of your own journey? And the more we think about it, the more we realize the impact of this revelation on our daily lives. It doesn't matter if you're seeking self-discovery, it's going through a period of change, or simply feeling a lack of clear purpose. Understanding that there are subtle signs pointing to the soul's continuity gives us a new lens through which to see reality. It's like adjusting the focus of a camera suddenly. What seemed confusing begins to gain clarity. The interesting thing is that, by offering this reflection, Emmanuel brings us closer to something we've always sought, meaning. We all want to understand why we face certain trials, why we attract certain types of people, why some paths seem to open easily while others inexplicably close. When we realize that these movements may be connected to what our soul has already experienced, everything gains greater coherence. And this coherence is liberating because it allows us to view each obstacle not as punishment, but as an opportunity for growth. This is where you can begin to see yourself differently. Perhaps that final digit of your birth year is the missing reminder you needed to better understand your own journey. It doesn't define who you are, but it offers clues to what life has already tried to teach your soul. And realizing this is a step toward a more conscious mindset, capable of transforming the way you approach your choices, your relationships, and even your dreams. Now, before we delve any further into this, I want to invite you to leave a simple yet powerful phrase in the comments. This makes sense to me. This exchange is not just a gesture of interaction, but a way to solidify this moment of reflection and also to show that you are attentive to the messages your own soul may be revealing. And from here, continue together. Because there is much more to be explored about the hidden meanings that numbers carry and how these revelations can transform the way you see your life. ... When we talk about numbers, most people think only of mathematics, calculations, or calendar dates. But from a spiritual perspective, numbers are much more than that. They are signs, records, little keys that open doors to understanding the soul's journey. Emmanuel, in his reflections, always emphasized that nothing in the universe is by chance, and that even seemingly trivial details can carry hidden truths that directly impact our way of living and perceiving reality. Thus, the last digit of your birth year is not just a statistical coincidence, but a vibrational mark that speaks to what you have experienced in other lives and what you still need to refine in this one. If you observe carefully, you'll notice that each number vibrates differently, as if it were a musical note within a grand cosmic melody. One, for example, resonates with independence, courage, and leadership. It can signal that the soul has held prominent positions, facing difficult decisions that required firmness. Two, on the other hand, brings the energy of balance, partnership, and the challenge of learning to coexist and respect differences. 7, so mysterious, connects to deep spirituality, the search for truth, and the need to delve beyond the surface. Each number carries an invitation, a vibration that resonates not only in the mind, but also in the spirit. Now, imagine someone born in 1987. The final digit is 7. This simple detail already points to a journey, marked by inner restlessness, a desire to find meaning in everything. Perhaps this person has always felt that the material world is not enough, that they need to go beyond, that there is something greater behind the scenes of life. This constant search may be precisely a reflection of accumulated experiences, of incarnations in which spirituality has played a central role. It's as if the number were a silent reminder. Continue your journey, go deeper. Seek revelations that transform your worldview. Another example, someone born in 1992 has a 2 as the final digit. This number brings with it the lesson of coexistence. It's not uncommon for people with this vibration to experience relationships that require patience, understanding, and balance. Often, these are souls who in past lives experienced isolation or even conflict, and who now face the challenge of learning to walk in partnership. This energy doesn't limit, but rather indicates a path of transformation. When the importance of this lesson is recognized, the person begins to make more conscious decisions and finds harmony, where previously they only saw disagreement. This way of seeing numbers completely changes the way we approach life. It stops being merely a superficial glance and becomes a dive into hidden truths, into spiritual records that were there all along. It's as if numbers were codes left by the soul itself, codes that don't serve to imprison, but to liberate. Because when you understand what a given vibration wants to show you, you stop fighting the flow and begin to walk in tune with it. And the most curious thing is how this applies to everyday life. Those who carry the 1 vibration often feel a natural urge to take on responsibilities, to be pioneers, to initiate projects. But along with this energy also comes the challenge of not becoming authoritarian or carrying the weight of the world alone. Those who carry the 9, for example, carry an energy of completion, of closing cycles, as if they had come to finalize old lessons and make room for new chapters. And this manifests itself in practical situations. People who constantly need to let go, who face painful goodbyes, but who find meaning in the act of renewal. When we understand this subtle language of numbers, we understand that they aren't there to dictate rules, but to gently guide us. It's as if each number were a beacon shining in the darkness, pointing us in the right direction. And this clarity has a huge impact, because it helps us see life from a different perspective. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, we begin to realize that there's a logic, an order, a purpose behind everything. This revelation opens the door to real transformation, because when we understand the vibration we carry, we begin to make choices more aligned with who we truly are. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding the spiritual symbolism of numbers is like receiving a map of yourself. But it only makes sense when you decide to use it. Many people spend their entire lives without noticing these signs, living on autopilot, repeating patterns that could have been overcome. But when you awaken to this hidden truth, you begin to see behind the scenes of your own story. It's like watching a movie and suddenly realizing that the scene that seemed confusing at the beginning now makes perfect sense as the plot unfolds. This clarity brings strength, confidence, and, above all, freedom. And perhaps that's why so many people, in connecting with these reflections attributed to Emmanuel, feel such a profound impact. It's not just about numbers, but about what they represent in terms of the soul, choices, and journey. It's about recognizing that life is bigger than it seems, that the past continues to echo in the present, and that each of us carries within us a story much longer than we can imagine. When you look at the last digit of your birth year, you're looking at a symbolic key that opens a door to self-knowledge. This door can reveal memories you can't access with your mind, but which are recorded in the essence of your being. And it's in this process of recognizing these clues that you discover that you're not lost, that you've never been alone, and that everything you experience has a thread of continuity. If this theme resonated with you so far, comment below. I'm on this journey too. It's a simple phrase as a way of affirming to yourself that you're open to seeing life with more depth and meaning. And from here we continue together, because there is still much more to explore. About the revelations that numbers hold, and how they can transform the way you understand every detail of your existence. When we think of the last digit of our birth year, the initial impression may be that it's something too small to carry any profound meaning. But that's precisely where the mystery lies, in the simplicity of a detail, capable of revealing hidden layers of our spiritual journey. Emmanuel always reminded us that life isn't limited to what meets the eye, and that even the most discrete elements contain valuable signs. Thus, when we observe this final number, we're not talking about a fixed destiny or rigid predictions, but rather subtle clues that indicate lessons, trends, and learnings that the soul has already experienced on its journey. The number 0, for example, represents cycles that close and new beginnings that present themselves. It can symbolize a spirit that brings with it the invitation to embrace renewal, deal with necessary endings, and make room for transformation. Often, those born under this vibration realize that life unfolds in remarkable stages, as if the universe constantly reminds them that nothing is eternal and that everything reinvents itself. The number 1, on the other hand, brings a different energy. It speaks of leadership, courage, and pioneering. It's the call to take responsibility, to make firm decisions, and to guide paths. People connected to this vibration often feel, from an early age, the urge to blaze paths that don't yet exist, but they also face the challenge of balancing firmness with humility, so as not to fall under the weight of carrying everything alone. The number 2 is a living reminder that we were not born to exist in isolation. It symbolizes relationships, balance, and cooperation. It indicates a soul that needs to learn to walk side by side, to listen, and to respect. This number invites us to overcome pride and excessive individuality, bringing the beauty of understanding that growth occurs when there is true partnership. The number 3, in turn, brings with it a vibration of creativity, expression, and communication. It's as if the spirit has already accumulated experiences that now beg to be shared, whether through art, words, or any form of expression that touches others. Those who carry this number often feel an almost irresistible calling to express what pulses within them. The number 4 speaks of discipline, solid construction, and firm foundations. Souls bearing this number often experience experiences that require them to develop patience, focus, and responsibility. It's an invitation to structure their lives like someone building a secure house brick by brick. The number 5, on the other hand, brings a completely different energy: movement, freedom, and change. It represents the adventurous spirit, which in past lives has experienced rigid routines and now seeks expansion. But along with this drive comes the lesson of not getting lost in excess, of learning to use freedom consciously. Without falling into escape or instability, the number 6 has a more effective vibration, linked to care, family, and emotional responsibility. It can indicate a soul that has experienced abandonment or distance and now learns from it the ability to build deeper bonds. It's a sense of responsibility toward others, and a sense of appreciation for home. The number 7, on the other hand, is almost always associated with spirituality, inner seeking, and the need to go beyond the obvious. People connected to this energy feel a constant calling to immerse themselves in studies, reflections, and practices that nourish the soul. It's no wonder they often feel out of place in superficial environments, as if something within them calls for a higher purpose. The number 8 speaks of power, but not in the shallow sense of the word. It brings the vibration of balance between the material and the spiritual. It often represents souls who have experienced excess, both lack and abundance, and who now need to learn to manage life's resources in a balanced way. It's the number that calls for responsibility in the use of energy, be it material, emotional, or spiritual. Finally, the number 9 symbolizes closure and compassion. It's as if it represents the last page of a chapter, calling for detachment, surrender, and understanding. Those who carry this vibration often feel the need to care for others, to serve, to look beyond themselves. But along with this comes the challenge of not carrying the weight of the world, of learning that service doesn't mean self-effacement. As you observe each of these numbers, you realize that they don't determine your life, but rather show possible directions. They are signs that help you understand what your soul has already experienced and what areas still need work. Emmanuel always emphasized that spirituality doesn't limit us to labels, but rather offers us tools to better understand ourselves. When you recognize the vibration that accompanies you, you begin to perceive patterns, choices, relationships, and even obstacles differently. And this shift in mindset is powerful because it transforms the way you face challenges and make decisions that will shape your future. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding the spiritual meaning of these numbers isn't just about curiosity or superficial self-knowledge. It's about revealing the hidden depths of your own existence, accessing hidden truths that can have a huge impact on your current journey. Each number is like a mirror that reflects not only who you are today, but also the power of the experiences you've accumulated. And when you recognize this dimension, you realize that nothing that happens in your life is random. Everything is connected to a larger plot. Built over several incarnations, it's at this point that a sense of clarity emerges, as if the pieces are finally starting to fit together. This doesn't mean the path becomes easy, but rather that it begins to make sense. And when life makes sense, even the most difficult moments stop feeling like punishments and start to be understood as opportunities for growth. This completely changes the impact of the choices you make, because now you walk knowing there's a logic behind every step. If this reflection has opened something within you, write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." The simple phrase helps reinforce that you are connected to this search for meaning, and creates a bridge of sharing with others who are also discovering the signs hidden in their own stories, and there is still much more to reveal. Because the journey of each number is just the beginning of an even broader understanding, which can transform the way you see yourself and the world around you. Have you ever stopped to consider that many of the dilemmas you face today may not have begun in this life? It's as if certain situations carry an intensity that seems beyond your rational explanation. Emmanuel said that the soul is a vast living record, carrying within it marks, memories, and lessons learned that span time. When we look at these trials and experiences through this lens, we realize that nothing is left unattended. Nothing happens by chance. What seems like an obstacle today may actually be the continuation of a process begun in previous incarnations. And life firmly invites us to continue this transformation. Think about times when you've asked yourself, "Why does this always happen to me?" Or "Why does this situation keep happening again?" The answer may lie in the invisible thread that connects your past lives to the choices and challenges of the present. Emmanuel reminded us that spirituality doesn't show us these hidden truths to imprison us in the past, but so we can understand it and with it give new meaning to the present. It's as if each difficult experience were a mirror, reflecting not only who you are now, but who you once were, and pointing to what still needs healing. This perspective broadens our mindset and completely changes the way we view our journey. Instead of feeling like a victim of fate, you begin to recognize that you are faced with opportunities for liberation. An emotional disappointment may not just be a current frustration, but a chance to end old cycles of dependence or imbalance in relationships. A financial challenge may not just be the result of external circumstances, but an opportunity to learn to manage resources consciously. Overcoming experiences of waste or attachment in previous lives. When this perspective opens, the decisions you make in the present cease to be mere momentary choices and begin to have a much greater impact, as if they were steps taken on a long, continuous road. Emmanuel spoke clearly about the value of self-knowledge as a tool for liberation. He said that knowing the past isn't about seeking justifications, but about finding keys. By recognizing that we've lived other lives with different roles, mistakes, and successes, we gain the chance to look at our current lives with more compassion. This understanding teaches us to be more patient with ourselves and others, because we understand that everyone is going through similar processes. It's as if we were in different chapters of the same work, each living their own part of the story, but all connected by the same quest for evolution. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because it's not just about understanding the connection between past and present in an abstract way, but about perceiving how this manifests concretely in your life. Have you ever noticed that some situations seem to push you inward, forcing you to reflect on who you truly are? This happens because certain trials act like doors. We can only pass through them when we're willing to face our own shadows. The hidden truth is that, in many moments, what bothers us in others or in the world is precisely a reflection of something our soul still needs to work on. This is the impact of seeing life through a spiritual lens. Every detail takes on new meaning. The people who cross our path are not coincidences, but invitations to specific learning experiences. The places that mark us are not just landscapes, but memories that awaken something we've already experienced deep within our souls. Even losses, which often leave us feeling grounded, can be understood as necessary steps in a larger process where nothing is truly lost, only transformed when we bring this awareness into our daily lives. Life ceases to be a succession of coincidences and becomes a purposeful journey. Emmanuel emphasized that we don't need to wait for great revelations to realize this, because the signs are already present in every experience. The simple act of reflecting on a number, such as the last digit of your birth year, can open doors to profound insights. This happens because the soul speaks in symbols, in vibrations, in small clues that, when deciphered, illuminate paths. And perhaps you're wondering, could the trials I'm experiencing now have already been linked to what my soul experienced in other lives? This question, more than any ready-made answer, is the most important invitation you can make to yourself, because it opens space for a new way of looking at your pain and challenges. And at the same time, it opens space for recognizing your strengths, your victories, and your talents as fruits of experiences already gained throughout other journeys. This understanding changes the way you approach life. It's as if you suddenly realize you're not lost in a maze with no exit, but rather walking a path full of signs pointing to evolution. And when we realize this, anxiety diminishes, anger fades, and our hearts gain greater peace. Spirituality, through voices like Emmanuel's, reminds us that life is a continuous process where each stage prepares the next, and that we are always in motion, learning, adjusting, and growing. If this reflection brought you clarity, comment, "I'm on this journey too." This simple phrase already shows that you recognize yourself on this path of discovery, and it also creates a connection with others who are experiencing similar questions. And this link is fundamental, because understanding past and present life is not an end point, but an invitation to go even deeper, exploring how these spiritual lessons can be transformed into conscious choices that shape the future. If you've made it this far, it shows that you truly connect with these reflections on life, the past, and the messages Emmanuel left us. And it's precisely this kind of connection that makes all the difference, because it's what transforms information into understanding and experience. If this content resonated with you, please leave a comment. I'm with you until the end. It's a simple way to acknowledge your presence on this journey and to connect with others who are also interested in these discoveries while you're writing this. Check out the video on the side that complements this topic. It delves even deeper into these revelations and may provide insights that directly connect with what we've discussed so far. Click through and stay with me there, because the journey of self-knowledge and understanding of the soul doesn't have to stop here. And if you felt these reflections opened new perspectives, give the video a like. It's a small gesture, but it shows that this exchange of energy is working, that we're building a community interested in growing, reflecting, and transforming mindsets. If this content has brought you value, if it resonates with you, please subscribe to the channel. With each video, we strive to provide information, spiritual messages, and reflections that help you better understand life, your decisions, and the signs your soul gives you. No rush, no obligation, just the opportunity to continue exploring this journey of discovery and transformation together. So, if you've made it this far, comment, "This message was for me." It's a way to close this moment with lightness and awareness, celebrating that you're open to understanding more about yourself, life, and the impact of the experiences that have always accompanied us. And now, let's move on to the next video, which is all about what we just reflected on, and continue this journey together.